Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Peace, love, and positivity to you. My name is Sohum, and today I'll be reacting to the entirety of the Drive-By Truckers documentary titled The Secret to a Happy Ending. I'm super excited to check this out today because A, I love the Drive-By Truckers, and B, I need to learn more about the Drive-By Truckers. Because I think it's all well and good to have checked out all of the performances that I have thus far. It's given me some good understanding of their character, of their music, of course, of the things that they like to kind of speak on through their music. But there's also a level deeper that we don't get to see in those performances. You know, the genesis of their band, any behind the scenes footage, questions to these very, very amazing performers. We'll see what comes of it. I don't know what to expect in the documentary today, but like I said, super ready for this one. Before we do dive in, I just have one thing to ask you guys. Please drop a like on the video if you enjoy this kind of content, maybe a comment as well for the YouTube algorithm. Hopefully more DBT fans will get to see this, and then we get to share the experience together. Thank you very much, Gila, the Rhythmic, for your generous donation request today and this documentary selection. It really means the world to me. But now, with all that said, let's jump into it. It ain't too late to take a deep breath and throw yourself into it with everything you got. Patterson Hood. Yeah, man.
You know, if you
make
wrote
life
down
happen.
on a piece of paper the idea for this band, nobody would do it. Now, if you wrote down, like, we're going to have a band where we have 3 different singers, and each singer's going to write his own songs, and then said, well, it's going to be kind of a southern-oriented rock and roll band, but it's not going to be a southern rock band, you know. And the guitar player and the bass player are going to get
Southern-oriented rock band, but not a southern rock band. I like that distinction.
but it's not going to be a southern rock band, you know. And the guitar player and the bass player are going to get married. And these guys are going to be in their 40s, and these guys are going to be in their 20s, and these guys are going to be in their 30s. If you wrote all that down and tried to audition people for the gig, you wouldn't have a single person show up. There's no way, you know. It's the worst idea in the world on paper.
All the stars, right? Had to align.
You know, it worked for a long time, and it'll still work, I think. I think it'll still work. I hope so, anyway.
I just couldn't imagine myself in another band. I probably wouldn't. This is my life here.
I kind of felt like I was supposed to be there, maybe.
The fact that everybody genuinely respects each other's contribution is what makes it work. It's what makes it work without, we've never rehearsed, we've never made set lists, we've never sat down and mapped out what we're going to do in the studio.
What?
It's what makes it work
Never?
without, we've never rehearsed, we've never made set lists, we've never sat down and mapped out what we're going to do in the studio.
I can't even believe that. That is insane.
The most we've ever planned was what we were going to open with.
You want to hear a song?
Jesus.
All right, we going?
It's like built-in flexibility because they each choose who's the lead protagonist, and then they can all accompany. But that is such a difficult thing to do.
Bulldozers in dirt, bulldozers in dirt. What your mama got hidden up her
He's playing the
skirt.
mandolin there.
I like to play, I like to work. But most of all, I like bulldozers in dirt. I met your mama when I was 19. You couldn't have been any more than 3. She called me Steve. I never really even thought I had a choice.
choice about doing this or not doing it. It's literally, truly all I can do. I'm not good for anything else.
I feel like that can't be true, but also because how deeply he connects with the art, you have to believe it. Wow.
I'm a lousy line cook, and I'm a lousy waiter, and I was a lousy student, so I never made it through college. But I've written songs a real long time, and I know how to do that. So I figured I better find a way to make this all work.
In '85, when we started playing together, at that time, the Stones had been a band for a little over 20 years. And we thought that was ancient. Now, we've been playing together for as long as the Stones had been playing together when we started playing together. And I think it's ancient.
That is crazy.
There have been different bands, different lineups. A few years here and there of not even really seeing each other that much.
You know, life is music.
This
is what it is.
I guess we do what we do.
Yeah.
Fred and Ethel. Don't ask me which one's which.
I gotta pick up the cell phone blocks, and I'm up to my ass in dead and hockey, and I can't get the red stains off of my socks. Can't get you off of my mind. And I lived with your mama for 11 years, through good times and bad times, fist fights and tears. But something comes over me when you come here, so won't you come over and sip on this beer?
You know, finally it was like, man, I could do this. I know all these songs. I've been playing them with Patterson. I'll just go up there and start playing. So I just went up and sat down, and I was like, man, you mind if I play with you guys since you're one short? And they were like, no, go ahead. So we played. It was like an acoustic show. And then the next day they said, well, you know, the spot is open if you want to come out and play with us.
When I joined the band, I pretty much knew the songs already. Now, as far as just bonding and being able to, you know, do what I wanted to do and the way I wanted to do it up there, it took me a few shows. I was nervous, but it didn't take very long.
It's hard to integrate. Yeah, but once you get into the flow, it's like second nature, it seems like. Let's go. Yeah, Brad is one of those underappreciated members of
As much of a
DBT.
drum solo as anybody's ever gonna get.
Even in my own commentary, I don't speak as much about the drumming. Let there be rock. I can't believe they don't rehearse, have set lists, they just send
all
it.
day of studio time and invited the people I wanted to play on it and lured them there with pizza and free beer. And it was after we had so much fun that I then hit them up to maybe play a show or two.
Watt Club. I've heard good things about the Athens music scene.
I would like to say, fuck Clear Channel, fuck Creed, fuck Ashley, fuck Brittany, fuck Jessica. This is where music is at. We drove for 2 days. 2 days. For 2 days, drive-by trucking.
That's
Because
crazy.
see the truckers play, we wear diapers so we don't have to go to the bathroom.
This is next level dedication, bro.
What is
Holy.
it, you think? I mean, people really seem to need it. Need what they get from rock.
I know I needed it. I don't know what, I mean, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for, I wouldn't have made it through being a teenager.
Outset of my awareness of the truckers, Patterson.
What is that? He's got a whole handle of something. Jack Daniels?
Outset of my awareness of the truckers,
I don't know, looks like a Jack Daniels bottle.
Patterson always referred to, I mean, he talked about the band in a way that people talk about bands that they like.
Too much sex
That's nasty.
He would frequently say, the band. And you have to remember that the band, the Drive-By Truckers, was playing to sometimes as many as 5 or 10 people when they were playing these shows.
You gotta start somewhere.
But gradually, they were winning people over. And the people that they were really winning over, a lot of times at first, were the other musicians.
Interesting.
When I started
Not the
out
fans,
playing
but the
with
other
them, it was more of a stripped
players.
down sort of, and some acoustic-based stuff. I knew he had great songs. I wasn't really sure where it was going, but
John Neff.
yeah, and it eventually got a lot heavier.
I never saw Leonard Skinner, but I sure saw Molly Hatchet.
They were not waiting around for somebody to help them because they are true believers.
Yeah.
They toured when nobody else would have continued to tour.
Right.
They made records, they put them out, and suddenly it's like, how many copies do you guys sell of that? About 5,000. It's like,
They went all
5,000
in.
records out of a band is a lot of records.
Yeah. Actually, like doing the hard work and
This is definitely the
building
time
their
of my life
foundation.
I'm gonna look back on and say, yeah, we did that. I don't know what's gonna happen next, but I don't really care right now. This is the train I'm on. I'm gonna go till it stops.
that's a good mentality. Put your heart and
I think that
soul
the
into it.
Truckers' lack of any cliche, it's not something that you get every day. They're comfortable enough in their own skin to not worry about trying to be anybody else, just to be the Drive-By Truckers.
It's admirable. More musicians need to be like that, you know? Don't just like acquiesce to like trends. Create what you believe in.
I gotta get out of this. I gotta get out of here. I'm sorry. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
If I had time for every time I heard my old man sing one of these days, I wouldn't be like my old man today, talking about places that he'd been back in his younger days that he was gonna go back to again
2000.
one of these days. Dropped out of school.
Let's go, Cooley.
Was just 16. Fell right into a tire plant. Building the very things that make the asphalt sing. But Alabama, far behind you. I remember him saying that Chicago was a hell right here on earth. 25 years later, I was saying the same thing about Memphis.
I'm glad that they're integrating some of the music into the doc.
When I see the Truckers, I can't for days get the songs out of my
Love
head.
it.
Like they're stuck.
Right.
And they just play in loops over and over again. Part of it is I think the volume etches them into my head. But also it's the power of the songs.
Watch the country boys sing away. Steam rises off the man's insides on the sidewalk. Tends to change the way he thinks, the way he sees everything. He goes back to where he came from.
Great stories always have universal quality. Great fiction, great painting, taps into some, whatever universal quality that we can identify with, but also helps us to see the world differently. And
right.
The Truckers do that.
One of these days when my face looks like a road map, I'm gonna find my way back home. I'll go walking on the west side.
Just to like echo some of the sentiments of that, I guess, professor, director of American Studies, Temple University, of Bryant there. This idea that like music can reveal more of the things that we thought we knew, I think is so fundamentally true. And not enough people give music credit, especially those who don't listen to as much music. They kind of view life as this like very linear progression from A to B to C to D, when things are always infinitely more complicated. And what I feel like allows you to believe that it's so linear is because you're blind to all of the grittiness on the margins, on the edge of society. And if you don't understand something, well, that's fine. You can just plead to your ignorance rather than assume that things are exactly the way that you think that they are. And DBT, they kind of talk about some of the nitty-gritty, the things that people don't speak about regularly, especially in the context of mainstream music, in rock, in Southern rock. I still feel like as I'm like listening to more music, DBT still stand alone in their grittiness, in their willingness to go into any topic with full guns blazing. That's a rare quality.
I'm the only one from the south side of the river. I'm the only river rat.
River rat?
That's what they used to call everybody from the Muscle Shoals side of the Tennessee.
These days, take one look at me and run.
Growing up is, it's tough. It's tough no matter who you are.
Tuscumbia.
I've liked being an adult here a lot more than I like growing up, but I don't think that had anything to do with geography or the people or the culture. It's just being 15 or 14 or however old you are and thinking there's something on the other side of the mountain over there. Not being able to appreciate what's on this side.
Gratitude, right?
This is the original Muscle Shoals Sound Studio, where my dad started recording. The first person, I think they recorded Cher. She cut her first solo record here, and then the Stones came right after that and cut Brown Sugar and Wild Horses and 3 songs off of Sticky Fingers here.
After that, we started working with staple singers, cutting I'll Take You There and Respect Yourself.
Willie Nelson cut Phases and Stages here, and Bob Seger recorded
a lot of history.
The Night Moves record here.
We recorded with Paul Simon, the Kodachrome, Loves Me Like a Rock, Still Crazy After All These Years. Later on, Bob Dylan came and recorded.
This was the family business.
But the bass is obviously the most important thing in all music. Duh.
It's only recently that he found out that songs have words.
Yeah, I'm still not sure what they mean. We were just average-looking guys doing an unusual thing in a small town. All these people were coming to record with us, and they would get here and think, my goodness, why here? You can't even buy a beer here.
Why here?
Well, I guess probably Rick Hall, was the first, but I think that it's when Jerry Wexler, who I consider a great friend today, he still calls me about every 6 months, and I'll answer my phone and I'll hear this, hey Gene, what's rocking? And and I'll know it's him. He came here and he got personally interested in the white boys over
Jerry
at
Wexler.
At Rick's, and thought they sounded just so black, and I don't think anybody in New York really realized that they were just little white country boys.
See, I got married to Pat's mother when I was 18 and she was 16. And Pat was born when I was 20, and that was 1964.
As long as I can remember,
Trying to
he's
do
had
math.
a
My brain's
pen
not computing.
and a paper, and he's been writing. It made him very odd. I don't think a lot of the kids at that time probably knew what to think of him.
He would come home from school, and his schoolwork looked horrible. But I didn't, and I'd like when he would come home with sloppy schoolwork, I didn't go, "All right, young man."
So Patterson's 61.
You get in there, and I didn't do that. I was not a really good hands-on parent or anything. I was working all the time.
This is George A's house.
Great uncle.
I started staying with him on weekends when I was a little bitty boy. I mean, way before I could remember.
And just a little note here, but I love it when families are supportive of the passion of their kid. Because a lot of people, they set aside paths for their children instead of allowing their children to grow into the path that is best suited for them through their free expression and interactions with the world and them learning about themselves rather than the thing being imposed onto them. And they're being supportive in a very practical way too. They're helping with the actual music production.
And
I
sit in his lap as he drove the tractor, cutting the grass or doing whatever work he did out here. So I kind of grew up out here. It's a very special place for me.
That's sweet. The roots.
George was a bit of a night owl, and so was I, so we'd stay up late watching movies and stuff. And I remember watching King Kong out here one time. We sat up and watched it on old black and white TV, and oh goodness. And bringing her out here and seeing her with him is, of course, a extra special thrill. It's a blessing. And it occurred to me a few years ago that I generally only wrote about bad things, but I've never written about the good things, and that's a whole lot harder. And or it was for me anyway, because I didn't have any practice or experience doing that. And so I thought, it's like, God, why can't I write a song about George A?
George A was in the movies in 1941.
I knew the stories about, him being in World War II and going through Iwo Jima and all of that. I'd always heard the story from when I was a kid, but and it was hard for me to imagine the George A that I know going through that.
But it's a sign of respect. Oh, this song. Have I listened to this before? Oh, this melody.
I was already writing songs for sure. 90% of the decisions I've made in my life have all been in an attempt to do something with the songs in my head.
When I was just a kid, I spent every weekend in the farm you grew up on, so I guess so did
his vocals are always just so real. AI would never create something like this.
But I hoped that he would finish school and have a professional job where there'd be some kind of security. And Pat is an artistic person, and it wouldn't have worked being the pharmacist or the lawyer or whatever.
When everybody else, was really against him being in music and go get a job, do something real, get a life. My mother, boy, she was always his biggest backer. She let him practice in her basement, and they would practice till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and my mother would be laying upstairs in bed just rocking and rolling. It's So yeah, he's been playing music as long as I can remember. And it's just been with various people. But I think he's got his dream team now.
The harmonica here. Dude, that song is super nice. I need to listen to that at some point. Oof.
I love my home, you know, and I love my family, and that's why there was probably a good bit of bitterness in some of my songs when I would write about home. There was bitterness about the fact that I felt like I had to leave.
Had to leave to tour, leaving his family behind and being out there. It's interesting.
I've been a Truckers fan for about 3 years, and I feel like I've known those guys my whole life.
Yeah, welcome to the beautiful Alabama Theater. What a beautiful place. Me and Cooley been playing together for 20 years this past August, and
that's crazy.
We were going to celebrate then, and we just now getting back home to get to do it, because we wanted to do it at home. He and I played in a band for 6 years back in the 80s called Adam's House Cat, and
Adam's House Cat, okay.
You're not allowed to clap if you weren't at the Nick on a Monday night. But,
yeah, shut up. You didn't share back then.
Yeah.
The Nick is Birmingham's rock and roll landmark. Everybody that's ever played anywhere has played the Nick. And there it is.
Oh my God.
Beauty.
It's so small.
I have made an ass out of myself in that place.
But without any further ado, I want to dedicate this to those 8 people that were at the Nick. This is a golden
The 8
oldie
people.
that
Yeah, I mean, you got to start
played
somewhere.
before. So here we go.
I love it. Again, respect to the roots, where they came from, but they bring it forward.
Me and my baby's on a runaway train, on a runaway train, on a runaway train.
The music history of this area, it's never been based on live music. It was based on recording, because it was session folks.
Runaway train, you and me, so damn glad it's a one-way ride.
They didn't quite get the logic of working up a bunch of original songs that nobody wants to hear and nobody's familiar with, and then going out and playing them for 5 people. Adam's House Cat was the only band in town when we started doing original music, and so it was not well received. And the fact that it was badly received, of course, just egged me on and made me write really belligerent "fuck you" songs, which made us even worse, received even worse.
So let me lean into it. Even more chaotic. It's like a version of musical trolling.
Like Buttholeville, because that was an Adam's House Cat song originally, and we'd do Buttholeville, and they took it personal and were kind of pissed about it, and so people would boo us or want to beat our ass after the show or whatever, and so it was not pretty.
That is a lot of fire to stomach. Like, how do you handle that pressure and not break?
They were playing in this band called Adam's House Cat, and I hated them. I just fucking hated them. I couldn't stand it, and the sound was awful in there, and it was really bad. Then we went to a party afterwards, and I got to know the guys, and I won't go into detail about how, but there was a lot of fun.
Best looking woman in Butthole.
Butthole is
Back
a
then, when I met
crazy
them, I
song
started doing
title.
flyers, every now and then for them. I just thought what they were doing was, their songs were great, and I was madly in love with both of them, of course, It's just, they were just my closest friends, so.
We had just won this Musician Magazine Best Unsigned Band contest, and we did a little tour of the Southeast, played a bunch of shows, and pretty much got our ass kicked every night. Pretty much everywhere we went, it wasn't exactly going great, but we got all this local press. The paper was very supportive of us. There's a couple of writers at the paper
That's
that
nice.
kind of got what we were trying to do, and gave us some really good coverage. And so we booked the show there, and we rent the theater and rent a sound system and bought ads and went the whole 9 yards. And we get there and we're sound checking, getting ready for our show. It's about 5 in the afternoon, and we hear a noise and go outside, and the sky's just black, and tornadoes came through and wiped out a section of the town and a truck stop and trailer park and all of that, and nobody came to the show that night.
This is like more of a side point, but I would find it actually really interesting, just in general, to check out shows of artists where it doesn't actually go as well as they would have liked it to. Shows where they bomb, and not because they're actually playing badly, but just to see like what that environment looks like. Because as a music listener, most of what you like find online, like in terms of performances, if you're not in attendance yourself, is super viral clips of the biggest shows in the biggest arenas, right? Things are always like lights out, they work perfectly, and you don't get those like more uncomfortable moments where like, no, they are like clawing for the support, hoping that even 5 fans show up. And it makes sense because like those are the videos that are less likely to be published, so there is a bit of a kind of survivorship bias that happens. But I don't know, I would just be very interested to see videos like that if they're out there, even for DBT, of like them in their very early days, not getting the traction that they do now, and seeing like how they're navigating that. And if that exists for other artists out there too, that'd be interesting. But that's just a thought that occurred to me now for the first time.
End of the show that night.
Like what happens at a flopped performance? Because all of my personal experiences, the artists have done well. Any show I've attended, or they were well received. Even openers.
I had to get up the next morning and go to the bank and give them the title of my car to take out a loan to pay off all the production and everything for the show. Then I go into work and working at a pharmacy there, and the front page of the Times Daily that day was all the coverage of the tornado, and the headline said it sounded like a train.
I swear it sounded like a train.
It didn't go on the Adams House Cat record we made. We made a record, and actually 15 years ago this weekend, Thanksgiving weekend of '90, we made a record, and God, it's been that long. And but we didn't put that song on it. The record never came out. We finished it and then broke up. So.
I like that they've been like putting the music in and out. My head's been bouncing even though it's a documentary. Great editing. When did this documentary come out? I'm gonna quickly look this up.
What other bands were happening for you in between Adam's House Cat and the Trackers?
God, that's a blurry period.
Released on DVD in 2011.
That I was in. Oh, I was in one for a little while. We did 2 gigs when I lived down in Auburn. It was called the Girl Scout and Nookies.
You just sort of went separate ways at that point?
It's the naming. Is the naming always, with Cooley especially.
We didn't get the memo that the band broke up, so we kept playing. I don't know. It's kind of like, figured out years later, you know, when bands break up, you're supposed to break up, but we somehow we just kind of kept on going without the rest of the band. So we were an acoustic duo for a while called Virgil Kane, after the, of course, the song from the band. And we put together a band down in Auburn called Horse Pussy for a short period of time.
The naming is crazy.
It didn't really quite work. And then we had some kind of falling out or something for a while.
Like, they don't even understand the messy history. That's funny. But they kept it going is the thing. They never stopped. Some way, somehow, the music just keeps living.
You guys have stayed with each other for 20 years. I mean, that's, you know, a lot of marriages don't last that long.
No, the 2 I had sure didn't. You know, even combined before my current marriage, that will last that long and much longer. But you know, I don't know. You know. Well, there's a good chemistry. It just works, I guess. You know, it wasn't based on us getting along, because we didn't get along worth a shit until the last few years. Well, you'll want to take this next left right up here.
So, and that's amazing to me too, because they weren't getting along, yet they were still able to perform in their authentic energy, and that requires so much humility to be able to drop that for a performance, because like, it's easy to be like vindictive or spiteful or make things more emotionally charged from moment to moment if things aren't good, or if you're like with a coworker, to put it simply, that you just detest, but you have to go out there every day. I'm impressed. Very impressed.
Or actually, go straight and I'll take you the
I'm glad
scenic
they
route.
found a place of camaraderie at the end of it all.
2 hours north of Birmingham. Me and my daddy used to fish next to Wilson Dam.
We are in Florence, Alabama. We are walking up on the dam, Wilson Dam. It's a spectacular view of the dam.
Thank God for the TVA.
Everybody knows what this place is for.
What would that be?
Well, maybe a hot date. Something like that.
Thank God for the TVA, where me and my daddy used to bow to the river and pray. Thank God for the TVA.
God, they need to talk about their harmonies at some point. Otherwise, I will.
Me and my girl sit out on the lock.
Jason and Shauna grew up by the Tennessee River near Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, it was pretty frustrating as a kid because I had lots of ideas and I was very stubborn and I wanted to play music and I asked lots of questions. And we are in the Bible Belt. In Church of Christ, where I went,
asking a lot of questions.
Music's not allowed. You know, I didn't understand.
Jesus.
Well, why do I want to play so bad if you're not supposed to? You know.
So I thank God for
The only part of growing up that I found difficult was the fact that I was so very different from everybody around me. You know, where I went to high school, it was all white, all red, all meaning like, you know, their neck. and I don't mean that in a bad way, because I was a redneck too. You know, my family were farmers and they worked outside, and that's really all being a redneck is. It just means you work outside. It's not that bad an insult. But you know, a lot of those kids were mean.
Yeah, that's how kids are. It's like they see you as an outsider, even if you are a kid yourself. And then they ostracize you, and then you internalize that, and then your future is a very different thing than if you were actually accepted. But as an outsider myself, love the outsiders. I feel like the outsiders are the most creative, who push the needle in ways that most people wouldn't think to. And it's important that we exist.
A lot of those kids were
not to lump myself into DBT, but just...
And then there was the things I didn't know
see
about.
Where they've
the fact
come.
That this part of the country, the particular town that we lived in, was not very well off, and we didn't have, an enormous amount of things, but I never felt like I was doing without anything. I never, there was no problem. It's like, we're in a trailer, but hey, we're in a trailer, it's great. It's not raining on my head,
told me when he was just 7 years old. His daddy lost work and they didn't have a road. Not near enough to eat for 9 boys and 3
I love
girls.
Jason's playing, his singing.
They all lived in a tent.
There's a quality to his voice that I also really appreciate. I don't know if I've ever been able to properly express the thought, because if I try to describe Cooley's voice, for example, it's easier for me to do that because his voice is more noticeably distinct, especially of course in those bassy lows. Jason's voice it's like a version of Patterson's with maybe a bit more polish, a bit more youth, but there's still more to that equation. I'll figure it out one day. Let's see if I can figure it out maybe in the next hour here.
The TVA was this kind of grand experiment by the New Deal to both tame the water and to bring electricity to the rural area, which was the Tennessee Valley. And it did deliver on becoming a really important source of cheap electrical power to rural Southerners, and kind of, brought them in some ways into the modern world, brought electricity, brought radio.
So I thank God for the TVA.
But it became an oppressive force. Up of land by later in the 20th century and starts selling resort property, and it becomes this force of oppression. I had a graduate student write a thesis about the TVA and about that. It took him 2 years to write that, and there's Cooley in 3 minutes doing a way better job describing this process.
So he just kind of roasted the grad student there.
That lived down, where that lake is now. They were hillbilly, uneducated, had no resources or wherewith to live in a town, and
but it takes that hands-on experiential knowledge,
kind of an eminent domain type thing with a lot of promises.
Not just theory land and having to research it as an outsider, but being there on the ground floor.
Never got built, and the price of all their power kept on going straight uphill. And the banks around Holland sold for lakefront property. The doctors, lawyers, and musicians teach the kids what a ski.
Pretty much all ended up living in housing projects in town because there weren't really jobs for them. They weren't qualified for any jobs they had. That particular guy ended up just killing himself.
There's no note or letter found when he died. Just a rope around his neck and a kitchen
And when you leave one city and go to another, in between, you've got 600 miles of trailers, cars on blocks, crystal meth in bathtubs, guys in wife-beater t-shirts who are either in jail for shooting their wife or are going to tonight.
Jeez.
You know, it's not the South. You know, it's America.
Man, I don't know. I think I've been here too long. I think I've been here way too long, man.
On the road.
I mean, that's such an indictment of the conditions that people are very quick to kind of discount or not even acknowledge, because things aren't happy all the time, even though things at a macro level, like even if you think about the way the media portrays like how the economy is doing, there's a very very like fair argument that we are actually currently in a recession right now. If you just omit, which I know it's easier said than done for analysis sake, just to omit a section of the economy. If you omit the advancements of AI and the tech companies that benefit by it, from its contribution to the GDP, we are technically in a complete stasis, if not recession, and wages haven't increased and people are unable to afford housing, and things are more problematic at the mid and lower echelons of American living than ever. But these things just get disregarded and the attention goes elsewhere. But they're recognizing, even just through driving through rural America, the ways in which people are suffering, and it's not being spoken about nearly enough.
Back of the van, Cooley and Jason and Brad, and it's King Brad that day. But that's the van we traveled 72,000 miles in that year.
72,000?
We slept on the floor. We slept in people's couches. We slept in, all six of us in a hotel room. I mean, one night in Salt Lake City, I stepped on Patterson's dick trying to go answer the phone.
I hated it.
I know, you bitch for days.
It hurt for days.
And you know, we never had an accident, even with any of us driving. None of us were fit to drive. None of us are fit to drive now.
Well, that night, I mean, if we survived the night going into Grand Teton Village.
Yeah, that was the worst. That
With
was
the ice.
Yeah, Cooley's white knuckling it. He's like, with a stuttering
I
voice.
love all of their rapport with each
Have
other.
any of y'all thought about what you want to be remembered as?
I think keeping in mind how you want to be remembered keeps you alive a little bit longer, because you also alternate with how you'll actually be remembered, and then you decide you don't want to be remembered just yet. You want to be forgotten by a few more people before you're remembered.
There's one with a southern flair.
I love that.
Memories
Changing
of snake
perception.
handling. Airmen in Babylon, the Last Temptation of Saint Junior.
That's cool.
Serpentine Buddha.
It's like mosaic.
The Wrath Buns. I've tasted and I know the Lord is good.
The problem is, we don't play enough golf.
Yeah. Golf or die.
You play golf
or die.
You play more golf.
Like Byron says, you come for the golf, you stay for the cancer.
Stay for the cancer.
North Alabama.
Mariana's got cancer, just like everybody here. It seems everyone I know is getting cancer every year. And we can't afford no insurance. I've been 10 years unemployed, just getting no chemo. So my life was destroyed. Nothing ever changes. Cemetery gets more fun.
I think that this is a very political band, and what they understand is the power of telling stories.
Yeah.
The places they're from are totally left behind economically. This is
There
the
you
other
go.
side of America, where poverty is still the norm, where there are no jobs coming into these places, and people are kind of dealing with horrible circumstances and hurricanes.
Shit, it's that meditation
voice for the people.
Where very few people talk about class.
Right.
The Democratic Party's given up talking about class. The left has given up talking about class.
So this is 2011, so the documentary probably was filmed between like 2009, 2010, that whole era. What is that? 2008 would have been Obama. So currently they're the Democrats are in power. At least I'm trying to remember, because I don't remember the distribution of like the senators and the members of Congress besides who was actually the president. So assuming, I mean, you don't even have to know those answers, to be honest, to know that like progress is probably just not being made in favor of the people who need it most. It's usually just more of the same, and people who are, again, suffering, they're forgotten. They're not cared about. They're not contributing the same tax dollars that other people might. They're not as valuable, and therefore they are just discounted, forgotten about, and only come election time they're re-propagandized and galvanized for their support to then just be forgotten about once more. It's just an endless cycle of it's not even like, how do I say this? It's just an endless cycle of this. I can't describe the whole process because I'm going to butcher it, but ebbs and flows where people become more hopeful because of what's being fed to them in terms of information during those election cycles. And the moment that things start to happen and then the person gets elected, you expect things now to improve, your quality of life to improve. But 1 year passes, 2 year passes, and nothing actually tangibly changes in your life. And you realize that you were sold a bag of goods and things start tapering off again. And you live in that anger for however many more years until the new election happens and now a new set of propaganda is fed. It's just unending.
The Democratic Party's given up talking about class. The left has given up talking about class.
You have to just be there for yourself at the end of it.
The truckers talk about class all the time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Faulkner wrote about that little patch of Mississippi around Oxford. All his books were centered around characters and stories that came from that little area.
That political rage.
North central Mississippi. And he was working from the assumption that everything you need to know about human experience can be found in that little area of the earth. Every story you want to tell, every
back to acoustic land
aspect of
the living Bubba
human life that you want to examine can be found in that little area. In a sense, truckers have made that same assumption.
Wake up tired and wake up pissed. Wonder I ended up like this. I wonder why things happen like they do. But I don't wonder all. I guess we have to try that again.
He's singing along.
One more time. 3, 4.
Bonnaroo. This is a show I need to attend at some point. Festival, rather. I've heard good things. That is Jack Daniels. Straight from the bottle is insane. Holy.
Wrote the song about a guitar player from Atlanta, Georgia. He's actually from Cabbagetown, Georgia. His name is Gregory Dean Smalley, and he played in a bunch of bands, and he wrote a bunch of songs, and he got a terrible disease, and he died. But the last year he was alive, he played over 100 shows in and around the Atlanta, Georgia area. And I live in Athens, Georgia, and I just moved to town, and I worked at a place called the Hi-Hat Music Club there in Athens, Georgia. And I had the honor and the privilege to be the sound guy at 8 of those shows, and I met Greg. And my life was changed forever. He was an unapologetic, belligerent little bastard. This song for him is called The Living Bubba, and it's all about how life and what's worth living for. Wake up tired and wake up pissed. Wonder how I ended up like this.
I heard this song
why things happen like
a few months ago.
they do.
I remember this track.
But I don't wonder long, 'cause I got a show to do. He knew that his end was near. He knew that he had at best a few months left, and so he obviously wasn't trying to make it, or become a star. He just was trying to survive. But I can't die now, 'cause I got another show. Stage and start playing, and he seemed less sick. When it was over, he was so exhausted he had to be helped to the car, but while he was on stage he had this purpose, and that really moved me deeply and really changed my perspective about a lot of things.
Yeah, because that's just what it is. That's life. You realize how important the time you have is when you realize it's slipping away. Yeah.
Except wear rubber and be careful when you scream. And come see me next Friday, 'cause I've got another show. To us and invited us to play in Atlanta and got us a slot at the Bubba Festival that he put on every year at the Star Bar. So that was like the big time to me. It's like, all right, I'm getting to play Atlanta.
I love the way they've structured this documentary.
And so I called him to thank him the day that we got offered the Bubba slot. I called him to thank him for hooking it up for us, and his wife answered and said that he was in the hospital and this was, probably it. Once it was written, I knew even then there was more to it than anything I'd ever done before.
Oh, I have chills.
And I was pretty content if it never happened again to that extent, because I don't think you can make a song like that happen. I think it has to happen to you. Yeah, I was lucky enough that I was the one with my antenna up high enough to get the signal.
I think I've been to Richmond once or twice in my life.
We met him at the Bugapalooza, and we had sat through like 15 rockabilly bands, and then the Drive-By Truckers played, and we were both very impressed. And Jill's like, "We got to go back and talk to them." He's like, "You go talk to them. I can't."
Well, not like groupies either. It was because we wanted them to play the barn dance.
We were doing the barn dance at that point.
That's part of the reason we stayed at the Bugapalooza.
Yeah, we were scouting bands to get them to come up and play the barn dance.
Right, right.
It was called the Capital City Barn Dance. It was a showcase for like Americana, alt country, whatever. It was sort of somewhere between Hee Haw and the Grand Ole Opry, but it was
with the Little Rascals thrown in.
yeah, with the Little Rascals. They don't want a punk rock budget.
It was meant to be somehow. It was somehow related to what we were trying to do.
It's always about the music. The music is the most important thing, but there's so much going on within a record, and it's.
I can't tell if that's the painting or if that's the palette.
So much going on within a record, and it's cool to be able to have the opportunity to illustrate the songs. That's cool.
When we first hooked up, you looked me in the eye. You said, "Paul, we just ain't no good. We were heathens in their eyes at the time."
There's just a whole lot of trucker stories that we have that we can't tell. The code of the road.
What happens on the road stays on the road type shit.
He needs a kissy. Give him kisses. He needs a kiss on nose kiss. Give him a kissy.
We met Tuesday. We've been inseparable since.
Rodney is the king of forward momentum, no matter what. It's like if you're falling, make sure you fall forward so that you gain some ground.
That's smart.
I used to have me.
I take a pie, get that into the rock and roll, then you can see that some big fat pie eating motherfuckers getting down, rocking the fucking country.
Oh man, I love everything about the Truckers. Let's see. I like the variety of 3 songwriters and 3 guitar players.
Right.
I think they come committed every night.
Yep. This is the band in 35 years that you would have wished you saw as a full lineup, live on stage, 3-hour shows. You would die to have that in 25, 30 years. Their music's that important, I think.
I haven't been eaten up with a band and every word they sang and wrote. I don't know.
It's like finding religion, I think, for some people.
Yeah, it is.
I love how much their music speaks to the DBT fans
People have always
who've been there for
connected us,
decades.
as a live act because we're having fun.
Love that.
And we can be singing the most painful song in the world, and we'll do it with a smile on our face, and everybody else relates. It's just finding redemption, I guess.
When I was a young boy, sniffed a lot of glue.
It's strange to me how that works, how we can sing so many songs about so much misery, and people can just sit out there and, scream for these songs that are like, sing that one about the depression, or sing that one about ruining your life.
It's the relatability. It's all real.
And it not
People
working.
feel it. They live
I want
it.
to have another beer. We're gonna have a good time.
And they need to have that sentiment echoed to them to feel understood and connected. It makes sense to me.
But the thing that probably has never come across as well on our records as the show is the fact that no matter how dark it may be, it's still a party. That's been, I guess, part of the history of music forever. People sing these sad songs about what affects them, but in the act of singing it, it's a joyful noise.
Right.
There's no explanation for what happens up there, and I think we're the only 5 who know that. Sometimes it's the only 2 hours, 3 hours, however long we're up there, that we don't feel like shit.
love their electric guitar work so much. I think that was the Jason, right?
You could throw me off the wheel someday, but there ain't much difference in the man I wanna be, the man that I really
Hey, even if it's sad, happy, we're all in it together. That's why it resonates. At least one of the reasons.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Nice favorite. Anyone wants to say hi to my boss, man? Yeah. Hey, give him a pay raise. Give him a big fat pay raise.
All the frat boys latch on to the road goes on forever and the party never ends, but they don't see the inherent sadness of that's really behind it all, because it's like the road goes on forever and the party never ends.
Get it?
There's a bit of eeriness in that. It is hard to perform all the time. Absolutely.
The traveling gets old. It loses its romantic attraction. It's no longer an adventure.
Yeah.
After a while, you just, you feel like you're going through the motions, and that's the worst part of any job.
Yeah, because it loses its luster, the initial thing that like drew you into wanting to be in that position, and now you're in it, you're cemented in it. The new experiences, as he's saying, are all worn off. You have to almost find a way to reignite that feeling, or do things that are slightly different in that same context to make it more novel again. Let's see if they do that.
You feel like you're going through the motions.
How do they reconcile
that's
these
the worst part
feelings?
of the job, is trying to find something else about it to be passionate about.
There you go. Keep searching within for the meaning.
Girlfriends, they've basically been homeless at one time or another because they put everything into that band, and that's what it takes to get to be good and to realizing your dream or whatever.
Yeah.
Their personal relationships are dropping like flies, in no small part because they are continuing to tour and continuing to push this thing.
Right.
I'd come home and then have to go to my dishwashing job wherever I could find that would hire me for the 4 weeks until I leave again, just to try to save up enough money to get to the first town of the next tour. I mean, it was that bad. And finally, it all kind of exploded in early 2001 when we had this huge battle and decided that, it was like, well, are we going to break up or what? So I was like, well, maybe we should just take a break.
Wow, that melody. Southern rock opera, yeah.
I can remember talk about the Southern rock opera, talk about this thing, this concept album, and how it was going to go down.
I grew up in North Alabama in the early 1970s, back in the days when dinosaurs ruled the earth.
1970s.
Speaking, of course, of the three great Alabama icons,
Duality of the Southern
George
thing.
Wallace, Bear Bryant, and Ronnie Van Zant.
We'd finished mixing Southern rock opera and we'd shopped it a little bit and nobody was interested, no labels wanted it. It's like, we've come this far, we spent 6 years in this dumb thing and it's really pretty fucking good, it really is. It's, we made it happen. We may not necessarily all be liking each other right now, but we got work to do. If we break up now, there's no saving face. We're just another a bunch of fucking losers that didn't follow through with what they said they were going to do.
Bobby went out for a joyride, but my best girl left me at the party. It was almost June, and the 3/4 noon illuminated the rain-soaked streets like a candy wrapper. I guess that's why
Patterson's delivery is so unique. The way he just kind of talks into the lyrics, talks into the melody, and it's not like he's just talking without pitch. There's something like melodically hypnotic about the way he does it, and maybe the way he like fits those syllables in line with the rhythm. How do I describe it? It's better than... I'm not gonna find the words. I'm just thinking it's like it's different than like being melismatic. It's far better than like slam poetry, that kind of thing. But in a sense, it is like a sort of like slam poetry within the song. Maybe it could be better described as like a more rhythmic storytelling that happens in the context of the song that also then grows into larger melody. I don't know.
Some streets like a candy wrapper. I guess that's why Bobby had his lights off.
Because it is slightly different than when he just talks, like in the documentary.
Somewhere by the end of that ranting and cussing, it swerved into, fuck it, we're gonna do it ourselves. We'll find investors. We're gonna book the goddamn tour myself.
Patterson's so good, man.
Do the whole goddamn thing.
What a visionary.
When the story was told the next day at the graduation ceremony, everyone said that when the paramedics got there, they could still hear Freebird playing on the stereo.
Dude, I love this vibe.
When our lives all turned around, basically.
Oh, this goes so hard.
Southern Rock Opera first was discussed. We wrote an outline for what was going to be a screenplay about this kind of fictional band, but loosely based on all these like folklore stories we knew about Skinner. We got the idea that instead of writing a screenplay for a movie that we had no way of making, hell, I've got a band, let's write this rock opera. That's a good, ridiculous thing to do.
In a weird sense, reminds me of Queen. Even Electric Light
growing up with it,
Orchestra.
I was proud of being a Southerner, but I was ashamed of that.
By the time I was old enough to remember anything, it was scars left to heal.
Right.
Fire hoses and dogs. It's given us a lot to overcome.
Right. All the racism, Jim Crow. Just the affects, right? Against people of color.
The thing that startled me was the contrast between what had gone on in Birmingham in the mid-'60s and what had gone on in Muscle Shoals at the very same time. In Birmingham, you had the perfect example of how bad things can be when people are oppressed over something they have no means of changing, like their race.
Literally.
Muscle Shoals, on the other hand, was the antithesis of that. It was how good things could be when divergent cultures brought the best they had to offer to the table. And that, to me, was the essence of what was right and what was wrong about Alabama.
Yep.
Whence cometh the duality of the Southern thing.
To call the truckers Southern Rock, I think, does them disservice. To say that they were thinking about Southern Rock and kind of echoing it and playing around with it on the rock opera seems to make sense to me.
They're bringing this up now. It was brought up at the very beginning.
In that genre, right? Nobody who was doing Southern Rock has ever written like the truckers.
I'm not ashamed for anybody to call me a redneck. I am a redneck. This is where I'm from. But I'm part of this people here. I am part of it. I'm proud to be part of these people here. I'm ashamed of the ones who act badly.
Right. And that's how you reconcile that. Absolutely.
But I never heard of the duality, the Southern thing, until he wrote that song. Goodness gracious, this is over my head. This is complex shit.
What they're saying, which I think is important, is that I can love the South and still recognize its failures. I can love rock and roll and still recognize its failures.
There you go.
That's what makes this band so interesting, that they're taking what rock and roll has always promised us. They've taken that promise and said, yeah, it's worthwhile, even though it's never going to come true.
Cooley had decided early on he wanted to write the Shut Up and Get on the Plane story, because that was a specific story, and a story that really resonated with him and his philosophy about life.
Time for everything, and the time has come for you. Shut your mouth and get your ass on the plane. Shut your mouth and get your ass on the plane.
How's the record going to end? It's going to end with a plane crash. And so I fixed me another drink and wrote Angels from Fuselage.
Looking out the window, the trees are getting closer, it seems. Thinking about you, darling.
This has been so fun already.
Adding up the cost of these dreams.
But yeah, I mean, the record came out on, we got them back from the press and played our first show from the manufacturing plant, and played our first show of that 2-year tour on September 12th, 2001.
And I'm scared shitless of what's coming next. And I'm scared shitless as angels I see in the trees, waiting for me.
Everybody was just paralyzed and freaked out and didn't know what to do. We'd all kind of decided we weren't, just kind of figured we weren't going to play, but somehow we ended up on the phone with each other in the middle of the afternoon. It's like, you know, Cooley my sister had brought over the CDs, so he had our 5,000 copies of Southern Rock Opera sitting in his living room, and he was going to have to drive them up to bring them to me anyway. Called the club. Oh, well, we're going to be open. If y'all want to come play, we're here, and if you don't, that's fine too. We understand, I don't know if anyone's coming or not, but a lot of people might want to get out and drink. Maybe it might do them some good, have some rock.
The time of...
So we drove up,
the time
played,
to connect.
And then toured for the next 2 years for that record.
Oh my God, this is so beautiful.
The engines have stopped now. We all know we're going
and driving into the city, for the first time after that, that was almost like paralyzing when it dawned on you that, shit, we're playing the song about this right here, right now, and it was really spooky.
My God. That is intense. Blossoming all over. What a great documentary.
To paint houses like me, a trailer in my yard till you're 23. You won't feel old after 42 years. Keep dropping the hammer and grinding.
Coming into that was mind-boggling for me. There was a lot of humor, and there was a lot of drinking, and there were a lot of things that I had never seen before. And they were great. They were filthy and, dirty and mean and miserable and wonderful.
Is it fair that a band that already has two of the best songwriters of pop music gets a third songwriter that's one of the best songwriters in pop music today? I mean, how does that happen? It seems so unfair and so unlikely, but
it always happens that way. It's always just a little bit unfair.
Life attracts life.
But when the stars align, I mean, there's no way to get around it.
Jason joining the way he did was the greatest thing ever. I'd met him a year earlier, and I thought he was the most amazing talent I'd ever met. And we were at a party, and everybody passed around a guitar, and we started playing together, and there was this immediate chemistry that was just pretty, overpowering.
No terror in prison, Jesus, don't get it.
If it were up to me, the band would never exist in any other form. And I don't think it will. I don't think it will. I've heard, pretty much everybody else say that too. It's just like, this is the band that we...
You guys, I'm so invested into this now. It's just been winning me over minute by minute.
Always wanted to have.
These guys are special.
It's very good for us to have that to fall back on sometimes. Sometimes it's the thing that, gets you to sleep at night.
So don't let 'em take you out, boy. Don't try to be who you ain't. Don't let me catch you in Kingdale. Yeah, the bucket will be mine. Don't call it too early.
What a beautiful documentary. I've gone through so many emotions.
Things everybody wants. I still want, a family, and to be a good husband, good daddy, and all that. And that is important. That's the most important thing. And I try to compensate when I'm home from the road by being extra home from the road.
How do you like being a dad?
It's freaky. Hey, I like it. Well, what else am I going to do? I got all this DNA, and no, it's great. It freaks me out on a daily basis, but everything I've ever loved did.
The first time we played Bonnaroo, our
Can't wait to be a father whenever the time is right.
This girl, and thought that she would, like talking to me or whatever. So we hung out all day, and since then we've been apart. Got married 2.5 months later.
I could find another dream, one that keeps me warm and clean. But I ain't dreaming anymore, girl, I'm waking up. So I'll take to what you're having. I'll take everything she's got to give.
And what was it like then when Sean became part of the band?
It was good. It was you know, it took some getting used to, I guess. It, you know, still taking some getting used to, but I still haven't quite figured out, you know, what to do or how to handle being around somebody like that all the time, you know, 24 hours a day. And, there's not a lot of precedent for that. There aren't a lot of people you can go to and say, hey, you know, how did you do that time when you had a job that you were always at with your wife and whatever? And
I guess managing the relationship at all times. Instead of that like time to separate and reconnect, you're always together. The work stresses are your home stresses, just they're baked in. If you fight at home, it could affect your playing, right? I didn't really think about that aspect. The deleterium recording.
Why do you think you're a drummer?
I'm just not capable of doing anything else. I'm not. I'm horrible at all jobs I've ever done.
That's what Patterson said too.
I definitely probably have my role in the band as being the calm-headed one, but if it needs to be, I can let loose every once in a while.
It's interesting, the drummer being the most reserved.
To make that record, and I think
maybe the bass
that's when
player
it became undeniably apparent that there were some problems in the band. We'd known that, you know, Jason and Sean had been already kind of drifting apart and having some issues and stuff, but you know, we'd kind of been so busy just plowing ahead and doing what we were doing that everybody was just kind of pretending that wasn't happening.
Faces smashed against the floor.
Of course, y'all were going to be coming to film.
They said I'd rather be alone.
And it became real apparent real quick in there that it wasn't going to be a happy record to make.
Listen what we got going on here?
Yeah, and also when I record, I want pretty quiet and mostly just Brad.
Interesting. So she plays along to the drum line mostly. Doesn't want to hear the guitar work.
I'm very emotional, and I feel things more than I see them or hear them even sometimes. So a lot of times, just close my eyes and do it. And if it doesn't feel right, it just doesn't feel right. It's not perfect. So do you like that? What
I don't know yet.
She's a frequency, feel kind of player. Some people are like more technical, more robotic, but
Still think something should change here more.
One of the things we truly do all have in common is each one of us are really, really stubborn, strong-willed people.
When it kicks back into the chorus for the rest of the song.
And finding that middle ground that we can all, you know, sometimes it comes real easy and real natural, and sometimes it's something that's very hard.
This is going to be like one of the more interesting sections for me. Because I love the collaborative creation process.
I don't give a fuck what Easy B said.
He said he didn't give a fuck what you said.
Keep that or not?
Keep that, Easy B?
Yeah, band first. Yeah, that's the way we've all looked at it.
No.
When you got in the van, that's what it's all about.
Anybody need a beer? Yeah. Well, fuck you.
It takes a lot to be able to work together and be able to harness all those personalities into something that's, channeling it out.
My thoughts exactly. Like, how do they hold it all together? All of those differences in opinion.
It's very tough for any band to do that. That's why a lot of bands fail, because it's really hard to get along with people.
Yeah, and music is often so personal for us, and now other people are imposing their feeling and view.
You have to be gentle with each other sometimes, and sometimes you have to be brutal with each other. You have to be really good at deciding when those times are, because to get along and coexist with 5 people who are trying to pick up the same rock at the same time, sometimes you have to say, I'm the guy that's not picking up enough, or I'm the guy that's picking up too fast, or I'm the guy that's pushing in the wrong direction, or rowing out of sync.
Very fair.
But at the end of the day, I hope we can keep from killing each other one more year so that we can make another record.
You can hear the feedback. Oh, that's nice.
No one really does packaging like this anymore because no one even buys records anymore. Well, maybe if the records were packaged a little better, people would buy them.
Packaging is an important part.
I mean, God, when I was a kid, buying records, it was as much about the album cover. I didn't hear Led Zeppelin on the radio. I just thought the album covers looked really cool, and so I took it home to see what it sounded like. And,
interesting.
It turned out it was Led Zeppelin.
That is not most people's discovery path for Led Zeppelin. I mean, that goes to show you the importance of packaging. Just drawing the eye in.
I listen to their songs and I hear things that may not have occurred to them. They look at my pictures and they see things that may not have occurred to me. But, I listen to their music and I see pictures.
What is that called? Synesthesia or something like that?
One would hope that experience of the album, of the collection of songs, is not lost. And it's obviously an experience that this band, cares a lot about and is trying to create. Or were they born at the wrong time? Are they in the wrong era for the kind of art that they're making? Some artists are dislocated out of time and are making great art, but in an era for which there's not a ready found audience for it. That's
true.
We'll have to see how that plays out.
I love that point so much, because a lot of times artists, they can second guess themselves and not believe in what they're creating because they're not getting that external validation. But the thing is, it almost doesn't matter, because if the art is actually speaking to something real about the human condition, and the artists themselves who are creating it believe that wholeheartedly, it's the creation itself that gives us the it's the creation of the art itself which is the most important thing, not the actual outcome of how it's received. It's nice if it is received well and if you can make a living off of it, but that can't necessarily be the expectation. And it also takes just society to catch up if you are a visionary, if you are ahead of your time, because people are very set in their ways. There's a lot of inertia when it comes to the beliefs about certain things. Even if it just has to do with mere preference, people are very sticky in that regard. I, for one, consider myself a very open-minded person in most aspects of my life that you could possibly ask me about. Music is definitely one of them, and I think music as a portal to more in terms of the way we view ourselves in this world, in this life, that means I'm not going to kind of shy away from all that there is. I welcome it openly, and if something new makes its way known and it doesn't quite make sense to me immediately, that's fine, because maybe it's not supposed to. Maybe it takes a few more listens, maybe a few more months, years. That's okay. I think it's a two-sided coin to this thing. The artist should create for its own sake, and the people should try to interpret and understand the art and appreciate it for what they can without being overtly negative all the time, and just let it kind of seep into your gray matter. If it sticks, it sticks, and then you can just kind of be agnostic to the outcome. Just try to experience it for what it is.
For it. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Emotional impact is what I'm always looking for in music that I love. And I think that that's what they have. I think that their music has emotional impact because it's real to them. It is music that is of them. Cooley's, because his playing, his guitar playing and his voice are so unlike anyone else's.
That's true.
I think that there are people who it takes them a while to realize that what profound truths those songs of Cooley's contain.
If I could have one wish right now, I'd be about half as tough as I pretend I am. And I wouldn't care how empty this old house feels.
He'd played it around me before. Maybe I hadn't really properly listened to it, but the first time I really remember hearing it, he was playing a solo show, which he never does. And it was, I guess, around last January, and he came to Athens right before Ava was born. And Rebecca and I went and saw him, and he played Space City that night, and it was just, I was like standing in the middle of 40 Watt with, tear running down my face.
Sometimes the words I used were as hard as my fist. She had the strength of a man and the heart of a child.
Wow, those
I wrote it after my grandmother died.
So poetic.
Just trying to put myself in my grandfather's shoes.
Space City's 1 hour.
But they had been together for, over 60 years, maybe almost 70. And I just couldn't imagine, what it would be like to find yourself.
I don't know whose lyrics I like the most. That was just the thought that popped into my mind. Not that we have to make the comparison, but I feel like I do notice that Cooley's lyrics end up being extremely poetic. And the way I think of like Patterson's, he often is recounting the story in a very earnest way that forces us to just confront the reality. I need to think more on Jason.
I just couldn't imagine, what it would be like to find yourself alone at 80 for the first time in your life.
Somewhere beyond that big white light is where my heart is gone. And somewhere she's wondering what's taking me so long.
So nice. Leave it in the comments, guys. What are your thoughts on this documentary?
I guess that's going to lead to a story. I've got a story.
There's so much
that goes
to
with
this.
I could tell you too, but
would love to know what just immediately crosses your mind.
Are we rolling? We're rolling. pour that wine. Let's roll. There was a guy I used to play with named Chris Quillen, and he was supposed to be a drive-by trucker.
Wow.
But the day I wrote Bulldozers and Dirt, I wanted Chris to hear it. It just reminded me of something that I knew that it was something he would really love. So I called him, knowing he wouldn't be there, and I thought I'd just try to sing it on this voicemail. And he answered the phone, second ring, and before I said hi or anything, I sang the song on the phone a cappella to him in its entirety, the whole thing. And then we talked for 45 minutes and made all kinds of plans about this band we were going to form. And I already had the name. I had the name before the band. And you know, I was going to book the studio time, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm there. You know, I'm there. You know." And we were figuring out logistics of how to get him there and everything. And then he got killed, and of course wasn't there. We went to Florence for the funeral, and Cooley and I all had the same dream the night before the funeral. We all had this very specific dream where he said some very specific things to us. And I always felt like what our band sort of did was sort of tied to that dream. I'm someone who's generally given to a lot of superstition or ghost stories or whatever, and yet it very specifically happened to me, and I remember it very vividly, you know, more so than I've ever remembered a dream, you know, in which
there's more to everything. The mind knows more.
During the dream,
than we even
it was like he took a light and he shined the light down a path, and all I had to do was follow it.
That's crazy. Secret to a Happy Ending. The title of this documentary.
You gotta wear from Blessed and a Curse tour with the new uniforms. The three-piece suit, dry clean every week.
Like half of these stories, they make me happy. The other half make me profoundly sad and emotional. Like, I'm just getting chills left and right and coming to other realizations too. This is what I'm talking about, man. DBT always has you thinking deeper than what you expected.
Shit, if you ask me.
You know, I kind of feel like we've ended an era with the band, and it's time to do some other things and move on and see how far we can push some things. Try to stick that antenna up there, see what happens.
Even if you still like to be on the road and you still like to play shows, which we do, I love it, but I have to as well.
Yeah, once again.
You can't have that, like maybe your pinky toe in reality. If you think you want to be a musician or an artist, you're foolish to do that. But God bless the people like the drive-by truckers that are foolish enough.
30 years from now.
I want to hear that again. I love the way she put that.
Once again.
You can't have that, like maybe your pinky toe in reality. If you think you want to be a musician or an artist, you're foolish to do that. But God bless the people like the drive-by truckers that are foolish enough.
30 years from now.
I love that.
Cooley and Hood should be the next Jagger and Richards. What's right and what happens ain't always how it works out.
Dude, they're dropping knowledge bombs over here.
I mean, Cooley got it right, you know, when he said rock and roll means well, but it can't help telling young boys lies. And part of the great thing about the truckers is they keep believing that lie, don't they? You know, and but that lie blows up. Are they gonna end up the cliche the rock and roll band gets destroyed by the road? Maybe. But maybe not. you know, maybe not. Maybe they'll be able to find a way to make this work.
Once upon a time, my advice to you would have been to go out and find yourself a whore. But I guess I've grown up some, 'cause I don't give that kind of advice anymore. So
I don't know if we'll ever be necessarily happy people. I hope so. That'd be great. But I do know that it had to be done, you know, for survival purposes. It wasn't something we could continue doing anymore.
yeah, the love is to feel pain. There ain't no way around it. The very nature of love is to grieve when it's over. The secret to a happy ending is knowing when to roll the credits. Better roll them now before something else comes along. No, it's a wonderful life if you can put aside the sadness and hang on to every ounce of beauty upon you. 'Cause one thing's for certain, if you feel anything at all.
Late one night, I ended up going back on the bus.
Oh my God. Dude, those lyrics, that is so good. Those lyrics, they're so real. It's, scratch what I said earlier, those Patterson lyrics are just as poetic. Oh my God. It's so hard to put them in any box, any one of the members in any box. Because I try to like be descriptive and give myself like broad understanding too, so it is a bit of like a heuristic that I can like lean on, but at the same time, because they continue to exemplify so many individual traits as musicians, as humans, as thinkers, it is just such a waste to attempt to describe who and what they are. And I feel like echoed through this whole documentary is that exact same sentiment, that as much as we try to understand these boys, they hardly can understand themselves, yet they keep persevering, they keep pushing forward through it all, and just trying to make people's lives a tad bit better.
And Cooley was sitting on there, and the two of us sat on the bus together for a while, and it's like, you know, is this it? You know, is this the end? Or is it time? Is this going as far as it's going to go?
So if what you got is working for you, or you think it stands a reasonable chance, if what seems broke might stand a possible chance of being fixed, you know, nothing lasts forever. Still look at each other and smile before you remember how fucked up it's gotten, or maybe you still dream of a time less rotten. Remember, it ain't too late to take a deep breath and throw yourself into it with everything you've got. It's fucking great to be alive.
The most it's just playing those songs, I think, more than anything else, you know, just playing Zip City and Heathens and Women Without Whiskey, and, you know, playing those songs in front of people with that band. You know, I love all the people, and I'll miss them, but I can call them, you know. You can't call the songs.
Some things are meant to last longer than some things. You know, the 3 records we made together in the 5 years we spent playing together were great. Why cheapen it by continuing on going through the motions when it's over, when it's moved on? You know, he's pushing in a different
to roll
direction.
The credits, right?
Say your last goodbye. Make it short and sweet. There ain't no way for you
my God, dude. I've had chills this entire time.
I know, certainly in conversations with Patterson,
specifically in my legs, but
couple of years, it's been.
I'll get those surges through my body.
Stop going on the road so much. Yeah. And that's not where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I think that had a huge thing to do with the split.
Right.
More than probably anything else. Except maybe the
I gotta pull it back some.
And then, I know certainly in conversations with Patterson and Cooley the last couple of years, it's been, we got to find a way to
stop going on the road so much. Yeah. And that's not where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I think that had a huge thing to do with the split.
Right.
More than probably anything else. Except maybe the 300-pound gorilla in the corner of mine and Shauna's relationship.
Let her go out if she wants to. If she don't go out, yours hell. Don't take sorry for an answer.
Dude, this is so bittersweet.
Unless you really want what's left. 'Cause in a razor town, the only thing that matters.
There's a few songs of mine that I won't really talk about much at all. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more. Because you just got to be careful what you reveal. If a song doesn't say it, you haven't necessarily written the song right, There's no misinterpreting.
Right.
The song's just as much theirs as it is yours after you get done right.
Right. Wow. It's just knowledge bombs. Like everything they say, knowledge bomb.
You learn as you go, I think I need those guys and they need me out there.
It seems like when in doubt, strip it down to the very, very foundation, which is the songs. That's where this band began, and so it seemed like that's where to turn to rebuild this thing.
Guess I'll never grow a sideburn. It's a shame with all I've got to go between. I hope somebody's calls take soon. It's getting hard to find a place where we can sing. Mama said a lot of things, and the thankful was the one she never minded to say it twice. Thanks to her, I can think clear enough to be thankful that she died before tonight. Baby, every bone in my body's gonna jump it like it's gonna come through my skin. They could get along without the rest of me, it wouldn't matter if they did. The skeletons ain't got nowhere to stick the money. Nobody makes britches that size. And besides, you're a ghost of months before they notice that you ever had a hair right.
We'll see what happens. Patterson and Cooley been doing this for a long time. I got lucky, I got to just hop on, catch a ride. But they've been doing it for a long time, and whenever they get tired of doing it, I'll understand, and I'll love them till I die.
Wake up tired and you wake up pissed. Wonder how I ended up like this. I wonder why things happen like they do. But I don't know, 'cause I got a show to do.
Rolling the credits now. We're just gonna let it ride. Man.
Broke my bank, it's a shit ain't free, but I'm here to stay at least another week or two. I can't die now, 'cause I got another show.
Let's talk about it a little bit as we go here. I'm still processing a lot. I'm sure a lot more thoughts are gonna like pop out at me even after finishing the full video today. But man, this was such an important video for us today. To like understand truly what goes on in their minds and how they feel about the work that they do, the music, what it means to them, what it means for others out there. Because it's not just about them, it's about the impact that they've had on so many, on each other. It's not even to mention just how good the music is, their performance, their emotion. Their uniqueness. Because I mean, you have so many minds at work here to create DBT, and across so many years, each member contributing to the music and being so persistent in all of the ups and downs, putting the music first, being authentically in that place, right? Because it would be so easy to like acquiesce and create music that was doing better rather than music that was meaning more. It makes sense why they grew such a fan base that stuck with them for decades. The connection that they have to each other, it's infectious. That they have with the fans, it feels so natural. As some of the fans were saying even in the interview, they feel like they've known them forever. It's like you're just talking to an old friend. And the guys, they're so intuitive and so wise. And they've gone through so much, they've had so much experience, so it only makes sense, right? They're coming from places that are not well represented, so the stories that they end up telling in their performances and their songs, they resonate with those who aren't often sung about. They're almost like the representatives of that feeling, of that place. And everybody loving it is the validation needed that, hey, what you're putting out there is actually having an impact in a very meaningful way. Let's turn it up more. Oh. Oh my God. I guess I'll pause it there. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the secret to a happy ending. Oh my God, that was actually like experiencing a movie. Like following the entire trajectory of, I mean, from the ground up, essentially. I mean, that is just a great way to illustrate the trials and tribulations a band has gone through to arrive at the place that it has, with all of their success and all of their acclaim. It was not a linear path, not by any stretch. And me having like learned a lot about music, even just in the last year, and experiencing even more documentaries and just diving deeper into this whole world of music in a very effortful way, so much of what is getting revealed to me about the process behind what creates this music is so illuminating for me, as it is for all of the fans who have also experienced these documentaries even before us experiencing it together today. It really changes the way I feel about this band, and it's surprising to say because I feel like I was already so connected to them, and it just brought me even closer. I'm almost like, how can I say this? Maybe this is like a persistent story throughout music, bands, artists, the creation process, but it feels like so often the path is not linear. There's so many things going wrong, and all they had to do to get through it, which is very reductive, but I'll say it, is to just keep going. And so many of the little interview responses that they would give, each of the member would say, this is the only thing that I knew how to do. I just kept going. There was nothing else for me. Anytime I would deviate away from the plan, things would just pull me back into that place. And instead of trying to fight routinely an uphill battle, maybe it makes more sense to go with what feels natural. Even at the young ages when they were a kid, I think it was Jason who was saying he's different than everybody else, and he was able to lean into his difference rather than go against the grain of who he is. Even if you're going against the societal grain, it is a far easier mental battle if what you're doing, if you feel congruent with who you are, rather than having to pull your own teeth to act a certain way. And that's one thing you could say about the Drive-By Truckers, is that they are never acting different than how they are and what they feel internally. That is always on full display. And it shows, and everybody around them feels that same energy, and the fans, they eat it up and love it, because that is always a missing piece in so much of the music that gets popular and shopped around, because it is meant for the real authentic human ear rather than something that's extremely polished and gone through 80 rounds of editing and all of the bureaucratic tape and nonsense that tends to ruin the music industry and creation process. DBT said no to all of that and made music because it was the important thing for them to do. And I'm glad that they've gotten the recognition that they have, and I know that they still probably need more of it. But these are the kinds of people that inspire us, and to understand why they inspire us is to then appreciate the fact that they've done it for so long. Man, I would really love to know what you guys think about everything we heard from them here today. Anything about my reaction to, please leave it down below in the comment section, but I'm going to leave it at that. Hope you all enjoyed the reaction. If you did and want to request one yourself, please hit the first link down below. But as always, my friends, have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care and peace.